tataha pratyap chetanadhigamo api antaraya bhavascha. Then, from that, comes realization of the individual self, and the obstacles are removed. So this is the final in this group of verses speaking about Ishvara and the connection between the Atman and this Paramatman, and the fundamental principles of spiritual development or growth or realization. So in his commentary, Vyasa has stated that samadhi is attained by complete surrender and devotion to Ishvara. Ishvara pranidhanava. And here, in his commentary, Vyasa places the following question before the sutra by Patanjali. And the question he puts, what else happens? Meaning, what else happens apart from the attainment of samadhi? Because all of the previous references were how surrender to Ishvara makes it so a person can attain the state of samadhi. And I just want to state once more, if I may please, that the reference to samadhi here we should not think of as being a mental state. It is not a mental state. It is a state beyond the mind. It is the practical and deep absorption and realization of the Atman in its own divine and eternal spiritual nature, and the connection that the Atman has with Paramatma. So, after asking this question, what else happens? Of course, the verse then from that comes realization of the individual self, and obstacles are removed. So these two things arise from this submission, this pranidhana, this submission to Ishvara, the overcoming of all the obstacles to self-realization. So these will be mentioned in a more detailed way in the very next sutra. And then the second thing or benefit is the self-realization itself. So we see here that there are this term, pratyak cetana. So pratyak refers to that which is inner or innermost. And Chetan, or in its fuller form, Chaitanya, refers to consciousness. Now, this reference points to an inner or the deeper consciousness, or the original is probably more accurate, the original consciousness of the Atman. The material condition occurs when the pure and uncontaminated Atman becomes contaminated, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment, contaminated by the ahankara. The ahankara is the foundation of material existence and the foundation of prakriti as well. We should understand that the Atman is always pure. My Guru Maharaj, he would sometimes use the example of like a diamond. which is in the earth, and it may be buried and covered with dirt and rock and things, and may appear to be what we would consider dirty. But in reality, the dirt that is covering the diamond never actually penetrates the diamond. And one recovers the diamond from the earth and cleanses away the rock and the dirt and debris surrounding it. The glory of the diamond becomes manifest. So in a very similar manner, the Atman may become covered, but its original consciousness is always unaffected, is always pure. But when that consciousness now manifests through filters, the first being the ahankara, and that consciousness is then radiated out through the mind and through the gross material body, everything that is undertaken by the mind and the body, and everything that is all information and experience received, do not actually touch the deep transcendental nature of the Atman. But because the Atman has misidentified with the ahankara, with the false concept of who I am, the body and the mind, so the Atman experiences pain and pleasure and becomes entangled and is pulled into an ongoing and almost never-ending saga known as samsara. And I've used the example previously of somebody sitting in a movie house and watching the screen, and how that it's just light reflecting off a screen, and yet we can become overwhelmed with emotion. We can lose all recollection of where we've parked the car or who's sitting beside us, what clothing we have on our body. All recollection is gone, and we've become deeply absorbed to the point where I've read where somebody had a heart attack during a cinema performance, and it nothing was happening to the person. They're just sitting there in a chair, but because of the intense absorption in the experience and what they're seeing, so there was this physiological reaction, as there are mental or psychological reactions. That example applies to the Atman in its experience of the world also. So what is the nature of this self-realization, or this realization that is being spoken of here by Patanjali? So Vyasa states that just as Ishvara is a Purusha who is pure, and he actually specifies that the Purusha is pure, peaceful, independent, and free from change, eternally the same. So also the ordinary Purusha is like this. So this is like an amazing revelation for probably many people, that just as Ishvara has these characteristics, so also the Purusha has these characteristics. But what Vyasa is also doing in making this point, and as his choice of some of the words, is that there is actually a qualitative difference between, let me restate that there is a qualitative oneness with the Purusha and Ishvara, but there is also a quantitative difference. And we see this when he explains that Ishvara is a Purusha Vishesha. And while there may be powerful rishis and yogis that rise almost to the platform of becoming like devas or demigods, and who can display incredible displays of omniscience, the omniscience of the individual Atman can never reach that, equal or surpass that of Ishvara. So there is a qualitative, it's like when you take a drop of water from the ocean and you chemically analyze that drop, it has all of the characteristics of the ocean, and therefore we can say it is one. But yet, there are no coral reefs or battleships or cargo ships floating on that one drop, or sharks or whales swimming in it, because of a quantitative difference. And this is reference to Vedantic philosophy of Bheda. Many of the commentators, or at least a couple of the very early of the commentators, make reference to this principle, this simultaneous oneness and yet difference. And what that does is that it should offer an understanding and appreciation to the sincere seeker on the spiritual path of the nature of the difference between myself and Ishvara. And in this way, we can understand and appreciate the need for what is called Ishvara Pranidhana, because it is then by the exercise of Ishvara's will, by his divine grace, by his mercy, that the aspirant and devout yogi may experience full self-realization after having all of the obstacles to self-realization removed, not through my own doing, but through the mercy of Ishvara. Thank you very much.